The first time I ever rode cross country on my bike, when we were coming home, we were doing basically the southern route. And we were driving through Louisiana. And one of the things I said was I wanted to go to New Orleans. It was kind of out of the way in the way we were going, but I have to admit, I love the food in New Orleans. I think it's some of the best cooking in the United States. It is just, the food in New Orleans is awesome. And so I specifically wanted to go through New Orleans so I could eat. And when we're on the interstate, I could feel my back of my bike was riding a little funny, and so I pulled over, and Dave, who I was riding with, didn't notice, and he kept going. And I quickly looked at my tire and realized for some reason it was going flat. But where I was on the interstate, I didn't really want to stay there. I didn't think it was safe. And so I made the decision to keep going. And we were about to go over 2 bridges, and I thought, all right, I'll get over the 2 bridges. The first exit I get to, I'll pull over. I'll get off on that exit, pull over, and then see what I'm going to do, because I figured by that point the tire would probably be flat, and then I'd have to figure out how to get in touch with Dave, because he was at that point nowhere to be seen. So I make it over the 2 bridges. I pull off on that first exit after the second bridge, and right at the end of the exit, fortunately, was a gas station that you just drove straight across from the exit and you drove right into the gas station. I drove right into the gas station, and at that point my tire went completely flat. It had gotten a nail or something in it. But the amazing thing was the fact that Dave was actually at that gas station. He had just decided himself also, yep, I'll pull over since he knew he had lost me, he was going to pull over, make a phone call, figure out where I was, and see how we would connect back up. I do have to admit, I was kind of shocked that we both pulled into the same place with no planning. And the fact that we not only pulled off in the same exit, we pulled into the same gas station. And we weren't that far apart from each other. Well, as the story goes, I called up the tow company. They came, they picked up the bike. It was a Saturday, so they were going to have to hold on to it. The dealership, Harley dealership I was going to bring it to, wasn't open until the morning. And so we go in, we find our hotel. The tow driver was really nice. He actually brought my stuff to the hotel for me. And I admit, I wasn't in the greatest mood at that point. So Dave and I, we sort of get settled. We actually celebrated Mass because it was Saturday night. And then we decided to go in and eat. So we get into the city, and I'm not, again, in a great mood. But we find a restaurant, we sit down. I took 1 bite of food as soon as I got my meal, and my mood changed. Because again, the food in New Orleans is that good. It changed my mood. I was in a great place after eating that. And the next day, when we ended up going to the dealership, I went in, I wanted to talk to them about, the fact that my bike wasn't there yet, that my bike was coming. I got there before the tow driver did. And I explained I have a flat tire, wondering when I can get it fixed. And he said, well, there's not much I can do right now. We only have 1 person on today, so it's probably going to be a couple of days before we can get to it. And I understood that. So we he started getting my information, and as soon as he realized that I was actually heading home, that I was from Massachusetts, and that's what he said. He like, "You're heading home right now?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "All right, we'll take care of it. We'll get it done for you today, so you can get out of here and start heading home." And I was so grateful. They actually brought in another technician just so that they could work on my bike, so I could get out of there that day. As I look at the sort of the series of things that happened as we entered into New Orleans, my flat tire, my not being in a great mood, and then all of a sudden having that food, I felt so different. Things were fine after that. Still wasn't happy that I had a flat tire, but I was fine. Again, the food in New Orleans is that good. And then, how the dealership responded. It would have been very easy to just focus on the fact that I had a flat tire. And let's be honest, that's what happens to us at times. We simply focus on the thing that's wrong. And that remains our focus through the entirety of what's going on in our life. Or we can accept, yep, bad thing happened, I wish it hadn't happened, and look to the positives. The fact that I had a great meal. The fact that that dealership was so kind and went out of their way. I could have still focused on my day was wrecked because I didn't have my bike, as opposed to, wow, this is really great what these guys are doing for us. And the reality is, God is, I say all the time, is always acting in our lives. But how easy it is for us to focus simply on the things that are going wrong and lose sight of the things that God is doing to help us through that. To lose sight of how God is trying to help us in our need. And the problem is, it may not always turn out, He may not always turn out doing things the way we would anticipate, the way we would want, because we sort of have our idea of how things should go. So we lose sight of the good meal that can make things feel better. We lose sight of that person who goes out of their way to help us, because we're so caught up in what's wrong, so caught up in what needs to change. It's only when we can open up to see the good with the bad that we're able to really sort of enter in to what it is God is doing and to really learn from that. I was so grateful for that good meal and how God made me feel in that moment. I was so grateful for that person who went out of their way to get me on the road as quickly as possible. Because when we focus on the bad, we simply lose our ability to be grateful. When we acknowledge the bad, and I'm not saying we shouldn't, it's real, it happens. But when we can begin to be grateful for how God is helping us through those moments, it changes it. It changes everything. How necessary it really is to have that attitude of gratitude. Because it's only there that we can it's only then that we can really recognize what it is that God is doing. God bless.